You're listening to the dulcet tones of Taylor Swift. We're getting excited as she's going to descend on this city for 3 concerts. I think then she goes away for a little bit and then she comes back for 3 more. 50,000 people a pop. This is going to be a huge cultural moment for the city of Toronto. And we've been talking about this dynamic between a teenage boy and his girlfriend. And he has some tickets that he wants to sell. She loves Taylor Swift. He does not. She thinks she should be able to get some sort of insider track on these tickets, possibly getting them for free or at least at face value. He says he wants to sell them at a higher markup so that he can pay for college. And young love, what to do here? Well, you know what? Let's ask our next guest what they think. Let's say hi to Davelle Morrison from Bosley Real Estate. Davelle, where do you land on this debate?
Hi, how are you?
I'm good.
It's a funny debate because, your last caller is correct. This relationship isn't really going to last anyways.
No. Yeah.
Let's face it. So
it's a teenage relationship to begin with. Take all the other stuff out of it. It's, come on, 18 and 19. What are the chances statistically?
Yeah, exactly. And so therefore, paying for college is very expensive.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's a movie about the Eras Tour, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like his friend could sit in the movie theater or at home and watch it there.
I agree. All right, Davelle, let's talk real estate. What's the latest today?
Well, there's so much. Where should we start?
So we got delinquencies have been going up. That's not a good indicator.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've been out showing some condos to some clients this week, and one of the things that I've just anecdotally has struck me is how many of the condos are being sold by the banks.
Oh boy.
Yeah, and so I'm not noticing that as much with houses as I am with condos, which is, it's sad to me every time I walk through a condo where I see the bank is selling it, because then that means somebody lost their home.
Yeah.
Right. And it's not to say that the buyer is all of a sudden getting some huge deal because the bank is selling it. Banks don't sell anything at a deal.
Oh, so they're not selling. This isn't like one of those police sales where you see a speedboat that's being sold for $1,500.
Yeah, no, it's not like that.
It's not like the DEA seized a drug dealer's house in South Florida and they're selling a $15 million house for $1 million.
Exactly. And we are so inundated with American culture and American TV that's what we think.
Yeah.
And there's so many, I think, real estate gurus who are out there pitching to other investors. Oh, yeah, power sale, bank sale, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't really work like that. The bank has shareholders and they have to prove that they actually got market value for the property.
Yeah. All right. So this is a bad indicator. So like if you know sort of the timeline of these things, when you see something like this, when you see the CMHC is saying delinquencies are up, does that mean that we can predict what the knock-on effects of this are going to be in a year or two?
No. Here's the thing. So yes, I've said anecdotally that I've seen more, bank sales. That being said, when you look at the numbers, they're up, of course, but they're up like minutely.
Yeah.
We're not talking about huge numbers at all. Even before this, the delinquency rate on mortgages was around 2% in Canada. So when you have something that's gone up, you're talking about something that's gone up marginally. I don't think you're going to see that as an overall market effect. I do think overall, most people will try to pay their mortgages. We know that interest rates have come down over the last couple of months. We know they're still going to keep coming down next year. So yes, we know that 20% of people are renewing their mortgages every year. But I think that most of those people are going to work through it and they're going to be just fine.
Now, it seems like almost every week when we talk, we are talking about new mortgage rules, and it feels like it's an ever evolving picture where the powers that be are trying to tweak the formula to optimize it for one side or the other. What's the state of play today?
Well, I mean, the state of play is, I guess the bee in my bonnet is that we still have the stress test. Now, and to me, that's where we need to start. If we're going to make changes to the mortgage rules, what I'd like us to do is let's eliminate the stress test.
But can I just jump in for a second? Based on what we just said about delinquencies going up, isn't that evidence that we need to maintain a stress test?
Yeah, but the delinquency. So, for example, one of the numbers they said, mortgages for more than 90 days that were past due made up 0.19% of the overall market. And that is up from a record low of 0.14%. So the numbers we're talking
Yeah.
about are like
Tiny.
tiny numbers,
Yeah.
right? And so therefore I'm like, it's like, why punish everybody
Yeah.
for these tiny numbers? And that's what we're basically doing. I mean, I can go on a tangent about, the Residential Tenancies Act and the Landlord Tenant Board, but we're basically crafting rules for 2% of the market that's bad, whereas everybody else is perfectly good.
Yeah. I know what you mean. We hear about this all the time. I always liken it to the guy who threw the bottle of beer at the player at the Rogers Center a few years ago, and they responded by banning beer as opposed to just banning that dude.
Right.
You ban the one bad apple. You don't ban. you don't make life harder for everybody. I take your point.
I got another example for you.
Sure.
It's like when the bike people talk about the fact that there might have been 2 bike deaths on a particular street, and therefore the entire street needs to have bike lanes.
Yeah, I'm going to give you a slow clap. And I'm giving you a slow clap. And by the way, that slow clap is not an indication that I think that any deaths on Toronto's roads are acceptable. So anybody who's going to at me, I'm sorry, but you're barking up the wrong tree. That dog don't hunt.
I agree. And I same. It's not that I'm saying that deaths are okay. I'm just saying that we can't craft rules for, 2% of the bad things that happen.
We only have about a minute left, but we do have to talk about, the headline is good. Average Canadian rent is falling. But when I look at how the average rent for a 1-bedroom was $2,178, and now it's $2,152. Is that a difference without a distinction?
Well, and this is the thing. Headlines sometimes, remember, if it bleeds, it leads. That's what headlines are written on, right?
Yeah, like I know that Justin Trudeau's going to love this headline, but really for the average person out there, I mean, are there certain cities where it's falling more starkly?
You know what? Back up. So I did have a couple of lease listings over the last couple of months, and I actually have noticed that we've had to drop our prices on those condos in order to get them leased. So I am seeing it in real time.
Okay, so it's happening.
Yeah, it's definitely happening. But to your point, to go from 2178 to 2152, it's
the first drop in 3 years. Let's slow our roll before we start throwing a parade.
If rents were dropped below $2,000 a month, then I think, oh, whoa, hey, but you're right.
Well, yeah, because that's like an intellectual sort of a hill. That once you cross that point, you're like, oh, it's below 2,000. There's a feeling of relief when something like that happens. But this to me is okay, sure, great. Now let's talk about real issues. Hey, I want to thank you so much, Davelle, for joining us, and I hope you have a great weekend.
Perfect. Thanks. You too. Talk to you later. Bye.
Talk to you soon. I love talking to Davelle. She tells it like it is. Absolutely. Hey, it's 7:41, and it's going to be 7 degrees. Right now it's about 1 or 2. I'm Ben Mulrooney. We're live, and cranberries. Nice. Welcome to Toronto this weekend, and thank you so much for listening to 640 Toronto.